Hey there everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the Enhancement Shaman on the Shadowlands beta for World of Warcraft, one of the most changed specs in the game going into Shadowlands, so very excited to look at this. We looked at Elemental Shaman yesterday, we're going to look at Resto Shaman next, and of course we've looked at several specs and classes already, and we'll be looking at every spec and class in the Shadowlands beta and for Shadowlands on the channel, so yeah, stay tuned for all of that content coming your way. Alright guys, and here we are in the game. Let's take a look at all these changes for the Enhancement Shaman. Oh, my friend here just disappeared. We'll talk about this guy in just a second. But yeah, lots of new stuff coming for the Enhancement Shaman. Probably the most, it's kind of competing with Shadow Priest for the most changed spec in the entire expansion. So let's break down all this cool new stuff that you are going to be getting. First up, we have Weapon Imbues. You got two of them. So, Wind Fury Weapon. This goes on your main hand weapon. Each main hand attack has a 26% chance to trigger 2 extra attacks, doing extra physical damage each. Pretty cool. That's Wind Fury in your main hand. And then you have Flame Tongue Weapon for your offhand. Your offhand weapon will be imbued with the element of fire for an hour, causing each of your offhand attacks to do 15 additional fire damage. Now, spinning around me then, we also have Lightning Shield. Surround yourself with a shield of lightning for 30 minutes. Melee attackers have a 100% chance to suffer 29 nature damage and have a 50% chance to generate a stack of Maelstrom Weapon. We'll come to what the hell Maelstrom Weapon is about in just a minute here. One thing to note, you can only have one elemental shield on you at a time. So if, for example, I put Earth Shield on myself, it would replace Lightning Shield. So do bear that in mind. What I've done here is I've tried to this talent is just set up so we just see the baseline stuff. Okay, now one of the really big things though, and this is one of the most exciting things, is this little chap beside me, this little buddy, the Wind Fury Totem. What is this? So this is wonderful to see, because this is a massive utility increase for the Enhancement Shaman in Shadowlands. You summon a Wind Fury Totem with 5 health at the feet of at your feet. This lasts for 2 minutes. And party members or raid members within 30 yards will have a 10% chance when they auto-attack to swing an extra time. This is phenomenal. Number one, this is a really good buff for you, and we'll cover why in a minute. But, you know, the warriors in your party are going to do way more damage. You know, your Death Knights, your Frost Death Knights are going to do more damage. Like, this is just phenomenal. This buffs up everyone. I think it probably affects your hunter. I'm not sure if it affects your hunters. It may affect hunters as well. Certainly survival hunters will love this. But, yeah, this is just so good. Really nice to see a big chunk of raid utility and party utility there for the Enhancement Shaman. Super, super cool. Again, this has no cooldown. You can recast this, and you will be recasting this fairly frequently. You know, it's 30-yard range, so basically every mob pack you're going to recast this. Last 2 minutes, so against a raid boss, you're going to cast this like 2 or 3 times, probably during your typical fight. But super, super cool. Okay. Sorry, my nose is a bit itchy. I have some allergies recording today. We're doing a mega recording session to get the shaman stuff done for the weekend here. Let me talk about why is this attack speed stuff even more exciting for you as the Enhancement Shaman? Well, Maelstrom Weapon is in here now. Maelstrom. You no longer have Maelstrom. By the way, in case you noticed this, in BFA you had Maelstrom. And this was widely regarded as a bad thing in BFA, that you generate this resource, but it was very frustrating to spend the resource. You'd spend it on Storm Strike, but that was super random when it procced. And then you were dumping it with Lava Lash, which felt super underwhelming. Well, this is all changed. Maelstrom Weapon is here. When you deal damage with a melee weapon, you have a chance to gain Maelstrom Weapon, stacking up to 10 times. Each stack of Maelstrom Weapon reduces the cast time of your next damage or healing spell by 20% and increases the damage or healing of your next spell by 20%. A max of 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon can be consumed at a time. And basically, you nearly always want to consume it at 5 stacks. So yeah, it's going to make your next spell instant cast, your next heal instant cast. This ties into your baseline abilities, and this ties into a ton of new talents. But I mean, if I show this to you very, very briefly, you know, if I'm just going to be attacking here, let me actually do some rotation stuff, and you'll see here we have the Maelstrom Weapon charges start to come in. Don't worry too much about the rotation stuff. In fact, let me put Wind Fury Totem down so we trigger stuff more often. And again, you can see this stuff building up. I have it tracked down here. You can also see it tracked up here. This shows you stacks. So if I spend some stacks, here we go. You'll see these little lightning bolts build up. So there you go. That's your Maelstrom Weapon. So yeah, needless to say, you know, Wind Fury Weapon hitting more often. Your Wind Fury Totem hitting more often. Not only not only is this buffing your team, but this is also tying in directly to how your Maelstrom weapon is working, which is super, super cool. First up, let's talk about how we're going to spend this Maelstrom weapon. What can we do? So you have 4 abilities to spend it by default. So you have Healing Surge, which is an instant, or not instant, it's a very fast casting heal on a single target. That's nice. New then, and this one is massive, particularly for Arena, and going to be really good in Mythic Plus 2. Chain Heal is baseline part of your kit. As you can see, this has a much longer cast time, where this heals the target for 767 and then jumps to 2 most injured nearby allies. The healing reduced by 30% each jump. So it heals for slightly less to 1 target than a Healing Surge does, but it also heals 2 other people. But again, with Maelstrom Weapon, it doesn't matter that this has a longer cast time, because with 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, it's instant cast anyway. In terms of damage though, which is maybe more interesting, we do have 2 damage spells. We have Lightning Bolt, which will now be a core part of your single target rotation, because this is your single target way to spend Maelstrom Weapon to do damage. Throw a Bolt of Lightning, which does 285 nature damage. So again, with 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, that does double damage and it's instant cast. In AoE, we have Chain Lightning. This actually has a few extra effects here. So first of all, it's going to be a Lightning Bolt, does 140 nature damage, and jumps to 2 additional nearby enemies, right? So again, if I show this to you very brief, in fact, let me do it here so it'll chain across, right? Yeah, it's going to zap between them. Cool, cool, cool. This also does more stuff, though. If Chain Lightning hits more than 1 target, each target hit by your Chain Lightning increase the damage of your next Lightning Crash by 20%, and also with Crash Lightning, each target hit, it also do I have it? I thought it's here somewhere. It reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning as well. Oh, I don't think it says. I don't think they've updated the tooltip. Sorry, I didn't check this before. It does though. So let me show it very briefly. Not only does it up the damage of Crash Lightning, if I fire this off now, you can see it also reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning. So this is super awesome. Your Chain Lightning is letting you Crash Lightning more often, and it's making your Crash Lightning do more damage, which is phenomenal. Let's touch then on your core rotation, the tie-in with this. So we've got a number of spells. We have 2 shocks, we have Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and we have Crash Lightning. Let me touch on Crash Lightning first. This is enabling your AoE basically. So this has by default an 8-second cooldown. Bam, looks awesome. Electrocute all enemies in front of you, doing 150 nature damage. If you hit 2 or more targets, it will enhance your weapons for 10 seconds, gives you a 10-second buff, making your Storm Strike and your Lava Lash to also do about 200 nature damage to all targets in front of you. So very, very cool. And on top of that, each target hit by Crash Lightning also buffs the damage of your next Storm Strike by 5%. Let's look at these other abilities as well, and then we'll put it all together and show you the core rotation. Storm Strike has a 6.8 second cooldown. Again, this stuff's affected by haste. Energizes both your weapons with lightning, delivers a massive blow to your target, doing a total of 958 physical damage. Lava Lash has an 11 second cooldown, reduced by haste. Charges your offhand weapon with lava and burns the target, doing 200 fire damage. However, the damage is doubled if your offhand weapon is imbued with Flame Tongue weapon, which it basically always will be, so it does about 400. And this is physical damage, so it's reduced by armor. In essence, Storm Strike basically hits twice as hard as a Lava Lash in your default setup. On top of that, well, we also have Flame Shock and we have Frost Shock. These both share a cooldown. They share a cooldown. In fact, it's slightly desynced there, which is a bit off. Probably not supposed to be that slightly desynced. That doesn't really matter though. But Flame Shock does a bit of damage, light bit of fire damage, and then puts a reasonable fire dot on the target that ticks over for 18 seconds. Frost Shock does a bit more upfront damage and also reduces the target movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. Okay, let me show you the single target rotation. I was trying it on these AoE dummies, but we actually ran into a problem because some of your damage is automatically AoE, so it wasn't a fair representation. But okay, we're going to single target. We're going to apply Flame Shock. We're going to Storm Strike. We're going to Lava Lash. Now we've got nothing to do, so we can actually Crash Lightning in single target to fill it in. I don't want to reapply Flame Shock now though, so I'm going to use Frost Shock instead for more instant damage. Spend my Maelstrom weapon at 5 stacks on Lava Bolt. Gonna Lava Lash. I'll reapply my Flame Shock. I'll Crash Lightning, get that on cooldown. Drop my Maelstrom weapon for a Lightning Bolt. Go into Storm Strike. Again, we're going to Frost Shock because I don't need to reapply Flame Shock. We'll Lava Lash. Drop Crash Lightning because we might as well. Storm Strike. Frost Shock. And cool. And next time we'll reapply our Flame Shock. So I'll Storm Strike, reapply Flame Shock. I'll Lava Lash. Drop my Crash Lightning. And we'll spend some of our Maelstrom weapon and so on. When we come into AoE, things get really spicy in AoE. Unfortunately, you'll see with the dungeon footage, the lightning bolt, chain lightning, excuse me, reducing the cooldown of crash lightning. That's a perk you get at level 52, and in the dungeon testing I was doing, it was scaling us down, so we actually didn't have that, so it kind of neutered AoE damage a bit. But still, we go into AoE. Again, we're going to drop down our Wind Fury totem, right? We can apply Flame Shock. We're going to like crash lightning. We're going to do our Storm Strike, our Lava Lash. We're going to do our chain lightning, crash lightning. Storm Strike, crash lightning. We're going to multi-dot with Flame Shock then. That's different. We're going to multi-shock with Flame Shock. Going to do this. We'll reapply our Flame Shock. We're going to crash lightning. I missed. I pressed that instead. Do this. Chain lightning. Let's go. Again, multi-dot with Flame Shock. You might even want like a mouse over macro or something to help with that. Going to do our chain lightning. Storm Strike. Crash lightning. Multi-dot here. We'll do our Lava Lash because we can. Okay, we'll crash lightning and so on and so forth. Like, it's got a really, really nice flow to it. So, yeah, I think this, again, this is without adding talents, without adding cooldowns, any stuff like that, but just the core rotation of the spec is super freaking fun. It's really all about managing these short duration cooldowns and how those all play in together. So it is just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. There's also a couple of other little abilities coming in, apart from like the new stuff that's part of that core rotation. One other thing, you have Healing Stream Totem now. 30-second cooldown, instant cast, drop down a Healing Stream Totem, and it's going to just heal for 15 seconds, doing about 300 healing every 1.8 seconds. So that's really nice. It's something that you can just drop while you're moving. It's actually quite easy to drop it with the default haste and default abilities with the Enhancement Shaman, because you will have a little bit of downtime in your spec. Not as much in AoE, but in single target you will. So it's just a nice little thing to drop down. Kind of cool. Awesome. Drop it between packs, like when you're going to pull a pack. Awesome stuff. Really nice. We also have, this one is really nice, we have Spirit Walk, 1 minute cooldown, remove all movement impairing effects, increase movement speed by 60% for 8 seconds. So this is baseline, so it's like a little sprint, so that's really, really good. Not only do you have Ghost Wolf, but you now have Spirit Walk on a short cooldown for even more mobility. Apart from that, you still have all of the same utility that you used to have, like with your Hex, your Cleanse Spirits, you've got your Tremor Totem, you've got your Earthbind Totem, you have your Earth Elemental you can summon in. Actually, this is one that's worth noting. I forgot to mention this, but your Feral Spirits are actually now different, and these are integrated with the new Maelstrom weapon system. So it's a 2 minute cooldown, summon 2 Spirit Wolves that aid you in battle for 15 seconds. They generate 1 stack of Maelstrom weapon immediately, and they also generate an additional stack every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. So these chaps are they're going to speed you up a lot. Let's actually get down our thing here. So let's go. Let's summon our wolves in here. Cool. So is this going to help me get into my my stuff faster? So I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to chain Crash Lightning. This is not the perfect rotation, but you can see I'm going to get a lot more of these out, which is sick. So nice. There we go. Just really helping my rotation flow even faster, which is just phenomenal. So it gives you that really nice flow to the spec, and you're much more GCD locked in AoE than you are in single target, which is really, really cool. So yeah, super badass. That's your new cooldown. It's basically the same, but it's just integrated with the new Maelstrom weapon. On top of that, we have a lot of changes to our talents. Really to tie in with this whole new gameplay. And again, one thing that goes through this whole talent tree is, remember, with Maelstrom weapon with 5 stacks, it lets me instant cast any damage or healing spell. I can instant cast them. So at level 15. Level 15 and level 25 kind of go together for some interesting stuff. So you have Lashing Flames. Lava Lash now increases the damage of Flame Shock on its target by 100% for 12 seconds. So this is really cool for some extra priority damage. Makes Lava Lash feel a little bit stronger. It's going to tie in with Hot Hand. We'll come to that in a second. You have Forceful Wind with Wind Fury, causing each successive Wind Fury attack within 15 seconds to increase the damage of Wind Fury by 50%, stacking up to 5 times. Just your Wind Fury just does more damage, which is passive but looks cool. And then you've got Elemental Blast, 12-second cooldown, 1.8-second cast, harness the raw power of the elements, doing 300 elemental damage and increasing your critical strike, haste, or mastery by 60 for 10 seconds. So again, we can instant cast this with double damage with our Maelstrom weapon, which is awesome. So this is going to fit into your single target stuff, and even in AoE probably you're going to do this as well. I'm not sure how it will work out in terms of tuning, because you lose out on the chain lightning benefits, which are very substantial, but it's like a better lightning bolt. It does more damage than lightning bolt, and it gives you those stats. So a better lightning bolt that you can throw in every 12 seconds or so. So interesting there. At level 25 then, Storm Fury. Each time Wind Fury weapon activates, the cooldown of Storm Strike is reduced by 1 second. So this makes the core rotation just flow a little bit faster. You're going to get more Storm Strikes out. Hot Hand then. Melee auto attacks with Flame Tongue weapon have a 5% chance to reduce the cooldown of Lava Lash by 75% and increase the damage of Lava Lash by 100% for 8 seconds. So I think there's a really interesting combo between Lashing Flames, which makes Lash apply a dot. So here we go, in fact. This is interesting. So here I can put up this guy, and I can actually go in and Lava Lash this guy. And I actually have this Lava Lash dot on 2 targets right now. So they're taking more damage from my Flame Shock. So this makes my Flame Shock now do like really, really big damage. So a very interesting combo there. But this just feels really good. I mean, this, as you see, it lets you spam Lava Lash way more often. So again, this speeds up your rotation. The Lava Lash hits really hard. You can spam it out much more often, fill those GCDs. And again, interesting multi-dotting potential by applying the Lashing Flames to multiple targets. So very cool. Then we have a new talent called Ice Strike as well. This has a 14-second cooldown affected by haste. Melee strike. Strike your target with an icy blade, doing 500 frost damage and snaring them by 50% for 6 seconds. And if you successfully Ice Strike, it does reset the cooldown of your Flame Shock and Frost Shock spells. So again, this is particularly good, I think, for PvP, for lots of slows, right? So again, it's a melee instant cast ability that does a slow. It will help you multi-dotting with Flame Shock. It's going to help you slow down more people with Frost Shock. It has an interesting interaction perhaps with Hailstorm, which we'll come to in a second. But yeah, a very and also interesting with Fire Nova. So some interesting synergies in the talent tree, but also cool for PvP. Level 30 is the same. At level 35, we have Elemental Assault. Storm Strike damage increased by 15%, and Storm Strike now generates 1 stack of Maelstrom Weapon. So you got a very nice little combo there, where Wind Fury Weapon reduces the cooldown of Storm Strike, and this makes it just do more damage, but also make more Maelstrom Weapons to speed up your rotation even more. Hailstorm, this is a really interesting one. Each stack of Maelstrom Weapon consumed increases the damage of your next Frost Shock by 35% and causes your next Frost Shock to hit 1 additional target per Maelstrom Weapon stack consumed. So like, if I go into this, let's build this up. So if I Chain Lightning, now my Frost Shock, boom. I have it tracked in my UI there, as you can see. All right, let's go into this. I'll do this. Put down this so I generate stuff faster. Come on. Maelstrom Weapon does not want to generate here. So I spend Maelstrom Weapon. I have it tracked here. Hailstorm. Next Frost Shock. It does some damage, boys. It does some damage in AoE. So a very cool AoE thing. Again, adding this extra layer to your AoE. So instead of just multi-dotting with Flame Shock, now in AoE, you're going to be also using Frost Shock as a massive damage nuke. Super cool. Then you also have Fire Nova, or up to a burst of fiery damage from all targets affected by your Flame Shock, doing 200 fire damage to up to 6 targets within 8 yards of your Flame Shock target. So the more people that you have dotted up with Flame Shock, the more you're going to do Fire Nova. So interesting with Ice Strike, that's going to reset the cooldown. Let me get more Flame Shocks up. I can get off these Fire Novas for some nice big damage. So like Fire Nova. I mean, let's just show you the basic thing. Let's get it on like 2 targets, whatever. So like Flame Shock here. I'm going to Fire Nova. Boom, they both explode and spread some AoE damage. So potentially like a bit of ramp up and then like a really big burst of AoE damage with Fire Nova. So super cool to see that one coming back. Level 40, I believe, is the same. Level 45, Crashing Storm is still there. Crash Lightning, electrifying the ground, doing nature damage over time. Again, this one's kind of interesting because you do Crash Lightning in single target now. But yeah, just more damage, kind of cool. And of course, you know, Chain Lightning reducing the cooldown on Crash Lightning. You'll get more of these ground patches out. Stormkeeper is here for the Enhancement Shaman, which is really cool. This is the Elemental Shaman artifact weapon ability from Legion. This is the talent for an enhancement now. So it has a 1.1, sorry, this is reduced by, we have Maelstrom Weapon now. Give me a second here. So it's a 1.4 second. I think it's 1.5 second reduced by haste. Cast time, I think. 1 minute cooldown. Charge yourself with lightning, making your next 2 lightning bolts or chain lightnings do 150% more damage and be instant cast. So interesting. I mean, number one, you can obviously instant cast. Actually, I don't think you can instant cast Stormkeeper because with Maelstrom Weapon. I don't think that works. I think you still actually have to cast it. Never mind, I tell a lie. You absolutely can instant cast Stormkeeper, and then you could spam out a couple of chain lightnings just straight away if you wanted to, or a couple of lightning bolts, or you could build up even more Maelstrom weapons. And yes, you wouldn't get the instant cast effect of the Maelstrom weapon on those abilities because this makes them instant cast. So you could just fire them off straight away for burst, or you could save up and fire them off with the Maelstrom weapon and get the damage bonus, so have the double damage bonus of Maelstrom weapon stacked with 150% damage bonus of Stormkeeper. Pretty awesome. And then, of course, we have Sundering still there, still nice. So 40-second cooldown, just bam. 1000 flame strike damage in cap on all enemies hit for 2 seconds in a line, so nice to interrupt abilities, does good damage, very, very cool. And then level 50, Elemental Spirits, reduce the cooldown of Feral Spirits by 30 seconds, imbue them with these different effects, which is nice. Earthen Spike is still there, and we have Ascendant. One thing I actually forgot to mention, which does tie into this a bit as well, but you probably will have noticed if you play Enhancement Shaman on live, is that Stormbringer has been slightly changed too. Your special attacks have a 6%, 0.4% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike and increase the damage of your next Storm Strike by 25%. This on live in BFA also made Storm Strike not trigger a cooldown. So when you got the reset, you'd fire off an instant Storm Strike and then it wouldn't have a cooldown, so you'd fire it off again. That no longer works. So here it goes, it fires off. But you see it puts it on cooldown, right? So it instantly resets the cooldown and buffs up your next one, but it doesn't, you're not going to do 2 in a row. So you're not spamming quite as many Storm Strikes, which is nice. But yeah, those are the talents. I mean, again, just to sum up stuff so far, because I feel like there's been so much goddamn stuff in here so far. Just this baseline changes to Enhancement Shaman, I am just blown away by these. They are so goddamn good. They're so goddamn good. The core rotation flows super smoothly. It flows so well. It's so interesting being the spec, which is about managing these short cooldowns. And then you got the perk of Maelstrom Weapon, but it doesn't feel like the defining thing of the spec. It just, everything fits together. It all synergizes together. Like just the glory of you know, of building up like your attacks here, building up your Maelstrom Weapon. You spend it on Chain Lightning. The Chain Lightning does more damage. The Chain Lightning reduces the cooldown on Crash Lightning, makes it hit harder. So then you got this more Crash Lightnings out. They're doing more damage and they're reducing the cooldown of Chain Lightning. It's so good. It just, everything flows together so well. And the same damn thing happens in the talents. You've got so many little synergies here. Like, talents that might not seem that interesting but at first glance, like Elemental Blast suddenly becomes interesting with Maelstrom Weapon. You've got synergies with like Forceful Wind and like Storm Fury, Elemental Assault, like Storm Fury, Elemental Assault. You've got Lashing Flames and Hot Hand if you want Lava Lash to be a big part, and some multi-dotting stuff. You're like Ice Strike with Fire Nova. Yeah, like Hailstorm is so interesting. Stormkeeper, oh man. Elemental Spirits is more interesting because it gives you more Maelstrom Weapons. Like, oh, it's just, there's so much going on. There's so many combos. Like, okay, maybe it will end up that there are really cookie cutter builds and stuff like that, but right now I'm just so impressed by all the potential synergies, all the potential builds, and this is without even getting to the Shadowlands stuff. That's without including the Shadowlands stuff. This is just your baseline class. Your baseline spec feels great. Like when I showed you the core rotation there, I took all the active talents I could and I didn't use them, and just the baseline spec without talents felt fantastic. You add in talents, it feels even bloody better. And yeah, then let's go look at the Shadowlands stuff and let's show me the other stuff that you're getting on top of all of this. First up, we have our Conduits. Okay, so these slot into your soulbinds and you have to choose your path through the soulbind tree. I won't cover soulbinds here, but you can see an example in the background of a path you might take and the type of conduits you could put in. You have Endurance, which boosts your survivability, Finesse boosts your utility, and Potency boosts your damage. So first up, we have Endurance. We have Astral Protection. Reincarnation's cooldowns reduced by 3 minutes, and reincarnating instantly grants you Astral Shift. This can go to 10-minute cooldown reduction. I'm not really a big fan of this one at all. I mean, like in Mythic Plus, it's still a 20-minute cooldown. Like how, I don't know, you know, I don't know, like you're going to be able to use that once or twice in the Mythic Plus. I'm not even sure if you can use this in Arena, to be honest with you. I've never played as a Shaman in Arena. I don't really play much PvP at all. Raid fights, I still believe it does not reset the cooldown in the raid fights. I mean, definitely reincarnating with Astral Shift is really nice. That's a good quality of life change to reincarnation, but I'm just not super sold on reincarnation being a core part of your kit. It seems to me like more of a fun little perk. yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the next up we have Refreshing Waters. Your Healing Surge is 15% more effective on yourself, and this scales up to 30% more effective on yourself. This is really good with the Enhancement Shaman because, of course, we can still do tons of damage with all of our auto attacks, do really good damage, and our Storm Strikes, our Lava Lashes, all of that stuff. But I can then, instead of spending my, like in single target, instead of spending my Maelstrom weapon on Lightning Bolts, which is a nice bit of damage for sure, but it's not crucial, I can spend them on Healing Surges instead to really make myself a lot tankier. And this really enhances it. So that's super, super nice. That's fantastic. And sort of differentiates Healing Surge spam a bit from just using it on Chain Heal, which would otherwise mostly, apart from pure single target, be better. Then the next one is Vital Accretion. Your Earth Elemental increases your maximum health by 20%. This scales up to 40%. This one, I much prefer this one to the Reincarnation option there. I think this is cool. Like, it's still a 5-minute cooldown. Earth Elemental, it's still a 5-minute cooldown. And this is actually one downside of for all of the really good things about the Enhancement Shaman, you are very squishy. Like, you're super squishy. The only defensive you actually have is Astral Shift, which is a 1.5-minute cooldown. Take 40% less damage for 8 seconds. Like, compared to most other specs, it's really lacking. Like, you are relying on your self-healing to kind of keep yourself alive. This is nice because there's an extra big defensive. Now, it's on a 5-minute cooldown, but it is still a very big defensive, albeit on the long cooldown. I mean, every little helps, I guess. So this one actually I think is pretty nice. For the Finesse Conduits, there's 4. We have Crippling Hex. Enemies affected by your Hex do 8% reduced damage for 8 seconds after Hex is removed, up to 15 seconds. So fantastic for PvP. Definitely really good for PvP. Maybe okay for Mythic Plus. Not too big of a deal in PvE. Mostly a PvP thing. Spiritual Resonance is next. For enhancement, Bloodlust or any similar effects also give you 4 seconds of Spirit Walk, and this actually goes up to 18 seconds. So this is really damn good. Because what this means is that Bloodlust is going to give you 18 seconds of 60% movement speed. So I think this is going to be so hilarious, and also it will remove all movement impairing effects, but it doesn't prevent them being reapplied, I don't think. I think this is going to feel hilarious in Mythic Plus. And in raids as well. You're just going to be zipping around and like at super speed, like super fast rotation, super fast move speed with this on. I think this is going to be really fun. I'm curious when it comes to PvP, because we obviously have a talent that lets you use Bloodlust in PvP. Normally in Arena, you normally cannot Bloodlust. In Rated Battlegrounds, I believe you cannot Bloodlust. But you do have a talent called Shamanism, and I'm not sure if this is going to be updated. I bear this in mind. This lowers Bloodlust to a 60-second cooldown, but only give you 20% haste. And yeah, you can cast it on a friendly target. So like in 3's Arena, for example, like you go in, I don't know, like I don't even know what a good combo is. Something like an Enhancement Shaman and an Arms Warrior. You go in and every minute you Bloodlust your Arms Warrior, and he's got 20% more haste. You have 20% more haste for 10 seconds, and you blow stuff up together, right? Roughly the idea. If this also, I don't know if this would work that well, but like if this procs off of that and you're going into an arena and every minute for free, you get to Bloodlust your teammate and then you go super speed with Spirit Walk, that could be nutty. So yeah, not sure if that works. Haven't tested it. Not a PvPer, but you guys who are PvPers can test it out and let me know. Thunderous Pause then is next. Ghost Wolf increases your movement speed by an additional 10% for the first 3 seconds. May only occur once every 60 seconds. This actually scales up to 40% increased movement speed. So I think this also feels super good. And I think that's going to make the Enhancement Shaman feel much, much better in PvE. Like, you know, just in raids in Mythic Plus, now you have just like your normal Ghost Wolf is 30% move speed, but though obviously you can't do anything while you're in Ghost Wolf. You also have the 1-minute cooldown of Spirit Walk, giving you 60% move speed for 8 seconds. You can also take this one. So again, it's like a 1-minute cooldown, but 40% more move speed. So Ghost Wolf becoming for those 3 seconds, a 70% move speed. You've got a lot of burst mobility there with Thunderous Pause and with Spirit Walk, and then some consistent mobility with Ghost Wolf. I think put those things together and it's going to feel really nice for the Enhancement Shaman. You're going to feel like you've got a good solid level of mobility, burst mobility, which is going to feel great for a melee spec. Finally then, Totemic Surge. The cooldowns of Tremor Totem, Earthbind Totem, and Capacitor Totem reduced by 1 second. Looks like this, though, scales up to 15-second cooldown reduction. So Tremor Totem goes from 1 minute to 45 seconds, Earthbind from 30 seconds to 15 seconds, so a lot more Earthbinds, and Capacitor Totem from 1 minute to 45 seconds, and obviously you've got talents that interact with that as well. Again, this I think is pretty good. It's some nice utility for PvE. These things could also be very good for some PvP matchups and stuff like that. So I think this one is a pretty big win. So some nice finesse conduits there. Looking at the potency conduits for the Enhancement Shaman. First up, Chill to the Core. Prepare yourself, guys. These are pretty good. Chill to the Core. Frost Shock has a 20% chance to grant 2 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon. This goes up to a 35% chance. Fantastic for single targets. Again, in single target, apply your Flame Shock. That lasts for 18 seconds though, so you're going to get off 2 Frost Shocks in between. So instead of that Frost Shock just being a filler thing, that's sort of, you got to press it because it does more damage than the Flame Shock, but nah, this makes it a really nice part of your rotation where it's a good chance to get more Maelstrom Weapon and just speed up that rotation. So super, super nice. And again, also sort of interesting synergies perhaps with the Hailstorm talent, where you're going to be using Frost Shock as a crucial part to nuke in AoE with the Frost Shock. Again, you trigger Hailstorm by consuming Maelstrom Weapon. So if I fire off my Frost Shocks with Hailstorm, it gives me more Maelstrom Weapon. Then I'm going to get to my next Hailstorm even faster. So again, synergy so big. Focus Lightning is next. Maelstrom Weapon increases the damage or healing of your next spell by an additional 4% per stack, going up to 10% bonus per stack. So again, at 5 stacks, that's 50% bonus of the max level of this conduit, which is pretty huge. That's a lot more healing. That's a lot more damage. This one might just be a default pick. We'll have to see, but very powerful there. Magma Fist is next. Lava Lash has an additional 25% crit chance against enemies affected by your Flame Shock. This goes up to 50% bonus. This one's not too exciting, really. This obviously would synergize well if you go with the Lava Lash build that I showed you in the talent tree. That's where this one becomes pretty good. Or just, at a default level, it does make Lava Lash feel like a harder hitting part of your basic kit, which is kind of cool. And finally, Unruly Winds. Wind Fury Weapon has a 40% chance to trigger a third attack. This scales up to 80%. So number 1, this looks cool. This feels fun. But even number 2, of course, each attack has a chance to build up Maelstrom Weapon. So again, this speeds up your rotation even more. So yeah, again, nice conduits here for the Enhancement Shaman. Looking at your legendaries as Enhancement Shaman, you are going to be able to equip 1 legendary at a time at the start of Shadowlands. There are 4 general Shaman legendaries available to all of the Shaman specs, and then there are 4 enhancement specific legendaries only available to Enhancement Shaman. First, let's look at the general ones. We have Ancestral Reminder. Heroism or Bloodlust or any similar effect lasts an additional 20 seconds on you, and you gain an extra 10% haste from any Heroism or Bloodlust type effect. So, I mean, this definitely feels pretty good. Like, it's just, instead of 40 seconds of 30% haste, it's 60 seconds of 40% haste. So, that's going to be very fun to play with. I'm not sure how good it will turn out to be when it comes to the tuning, but definitely fun. And I think it's always nice to have things that affect heroism or affect bloodlust for the shaman in particular, because they are the default bloodlust class. So that's pretty nifty. Next up is Deep Tremor Stone. Earth Elemental has a permanent earthquake attached to it. So this is kind of interesting. Like, earthquake is just some AoE damage, but it also knocks enemies down. Which is like, it can interrupt spell casts and stuff like that, which is cool. So this maybe will have some use. It will be good for solo play for sure, and maybe in Mythic Plus it could have some use as well. It's certainly an interesting utility thing to bear in mind, because obviously, for Elemental Shaman they're throwing out earthquakes anyway. For enhancement you don't have earthquake, so maybe good for some extra CC, though it is on like a 5-minute cooldown. Possibly. Next up, we have Deeply Rooted Elements. For enhancement, this makes Storm Strike have a 5% chance to activate Ascendance for 6 seconds. So Ascendance, it is a talent, so you can get the talent with just this legendary, or proc the talent for a bit. The talent version is 3-minute cooldown and turns you to Air Ascendant for 15 seconds. But the Air Ascendant for the Enhancement Shaman, it reduces the cooldown and cost of Storm Strike by 66%, and transforms your auto attacks and Storm Strikes into wind attacks, which bypass armor and have a 30-yard range. So this is obviously a bit weird because, well, Storm Strike doesn't have a cost. It did in BFA, and that was kind of one of the issues with the spec. It doesn't have a cost in Shadowlands, but Ascendance still reduces the cost, so I feel like this is not fully updated yet. But nonetheless, reducing the cooldown of Storm Strike is awesome. You're going to spam out way more Storm Strikes. This could synergize, again, very well with like the Storm Fury talent, where Storm Strike has just naturally shorter cooldown, or with the Elemental Assault talent, where Storm Strike does more damage and generates Maelstrom weapons. This could be very, very good for just, again, speeding up that rotation. That could be fun, and could do potentially a lot of damage, seeing as it's going to do wind attacks, which are going to bypass armor. So that could be kind of fun. We'll have to see. The final one then is Chains of Devastation. Casting Chain Heal makes your next Chain Lightning instant cast. Casting Chain Lightning makes your next Chain Heal instant cast. Not really all too taken with this one. Like, you're already throwing out these abilities as instant cast very frequently with Maelstrom Weapon, so I don't think this one synergizes very well. This is much better for Ellie or for Resto than it is for Enhancement, in my opinion. For the Enhancement Shaman specific legendaries, there are 4. First up is Doom Winds. Dropping Wind Fury Totem gives you 100% increased chance to gain Wind Fury weapon for 8 seconds. This can only occur once every 1 minute. So yeah, I think this one is really cool, actually. It's gonna make it feel a bit better when you're replacing that totem. It's going to give you this really big burst of damage and Maelstrom weapon for 8 seconds. Good synergy as well, obviously, with any of the Wind Fury increasing talents. So I think this is a fun one. You will have to keep replacing Wind Fury Totem, like in Mythic Plus or in PvP, as you move around. In raid fights, if you need to move around or if it expires. So this makes it feel a little bit better when you place it down. So I think it's pretty cool. Next up is Legacy of the Frost Witch. Consuming 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon will reset the cooldown of Storm Strike and cause your next Storm Strike to deal 100% increased damage. So even faster, even more furious. Yeah, with this one, you're going to be throwing out even more of those Storm Strikes, and they're going to be hitting really hard. So even speeding up your rotation even more. Primal Lava Actuators is next. Each time Flame Shock deals periodic damage, increase the damage of your next Lava Lash by 10% and reduce the cooldown of Lava Lash by 0.5 seconds. So this feels, again, pretty awesome. You can multi-dot with Flame Shock, so this will, boost your Lava Lash even more and more and more, and lower its cooldown more and more and more, and just makes Lava Lash feel more impactful. So we'll have to see on the tuning, but this seems pretty fun and also synergizes with the Lava Lash build that we talked about. And then finally, we have Witch Doctor's Wolf Bones. It increases the chance to gain a stack of Maelstrom Weapon by 5%, and whenever you gain a stack of Maelstrom Weapon, the cooldown of Feral Spirit is reduced by 2 seconds. It's already kind of nice, because, Feral Spirit, if you take the talent, it's 1.5 minute cooldown. And of course, it generates a Maelstrom Weapon stack straight away when you summon it, and then an additional one every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. So you're guaranteed getting 6 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon every time you press Feral Spirit, even if you're standing there AFK. So that's already 12-second cooldown reduction off a 90-second cooldown. And then every other stack like this, potentially, again, we'll have to see the testing, we'll have to see the tuning, but this is going to let you spam Feral Spirits way more. Again, a particularly strong synergy with the Elemental Spirit talent at level 50, because they give you some fun buffs. Just going to be very cool. And again, while those spirits are out, they're generating more Maelstrom weapons. So if you get more Feral Spirits out, it means more Maelstrom weapons. So just speeding up your rotation even more frequently. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff right there. For the Covenant abilities, we have the Kyrians are up first. Their signature ability is Summon Steward. Your Steward will give you a File of Serenity. It's like a Healthstone, right? It's got 3 stacks, and you can use 1 per combat. It will restore 15% health, and it removes all curses, diseases, poisons, and bleed effects on you. So I think this is really nice for an Enhancement Shaman. You're obviously, like I've already said, you're a very squishy spec on the whole. So being able to remove some of those dangerous effects from yourself is going to be a really big perk whenever those are, in a fight and they are dangerous. The Covenant ability then is called Vesper Totem. You summon a totem at the target location for 30 seconds. Your next 3 damaging spells or abilities cause the totem to radiate arcane damage to up to 6 enemies near the totem. Your next 3 healing spells heal up to 6 allies near the totem. And you can recast this ability. It's off of GCD. You can recast it to move it around when it's active. So the totem lasts for 30 seconds, has a 1 minute cooldown. It's instant cast, it's a 40-yard range. So this one is really nice. The conduit that enhances this is called, it's called Elysian Dirge. Yes, the Dirge is back from Trade Chat, haunting us forever. Vesper Totem is 100% more effective against the target nearest to it, and that can scale up to 200% more effective to its nearest target. So this one feels, honestly, this one feels great. This one is really, really nice. It's just, you plop it down, it's easy to use, it's easy to move, and it's just going to pulse damage. Lots of AoE damage from this one. The Conduit is fantastic because it makes this actually relevant in single target fights, right? Because it's it's going to feel pretty bad. If you weren't using healing, you're only using this for damage, in a single target fight, it would feel pretty bad. You're only getting like a 1/12 of its benefit, I guess, or something like that. You know, getting a tiny fraction. The Conduit makes it good in single target. Also nice in how it does healing. So one thing you can do, of course, dropping your healing stream totem, which is just an instant cast, you can drop that down, and that will trigger actually a pulse of the totem, the Vesper totem. So that's a really nice synergy, an easy, quick way in a gap in your rotation to drop down just a quick instant cast spell to trigger the heal pulse, which is good. Or of course, you could spend your Maelstrom weapons on some chain heals and really provide quite a nice source of AoE healing for your party or for your raid with the Vesper totem and with those chain heals. So give up a little bit of damage for the sake of getting quite a lot of extra healing on your party. I think this one's quite a lot of fun. You can sort of choose how to use it. I'm a pretty big fan of the Vesper totem. For the Venthyr then, their signature ability is Door of Shadows. This has a 1.5 second cast time and a 1 minute cooldown. It has a 35-yard range that lets you wend through the shadows appearing at the targeted location. It's basically a point and click teleport, which is very cool. I talked about this being amazing for Ellie Shaman. I think this is still good for Enhancement Shaman, but with you having, you know, Spirit Walk on a 1 minute cooldown, giving you like a sprint effect, and with Ghost Wolf, I don't feel like this one is too urgent for enhancement, but there's still going to be plays you can make with it. Like you can dodge mechanics in fights, like if there's a big pool of lava on the ground, you can teleport over the lava. You know, it's just extra mobility. Is still, you're going to find lots of uses for this, so I think it's still pretty cool. So a very solid signature ability. Their Covenant ability for the Shaman is called Chain Harvest. This has a 1.5 minute cooldown, 2.5 second cast. You send a wave of anima at the target, which then jumps to additional nearby targets, doing some shadow damage up to 5 enemies, or restoring health to up to 5 allies. And for each target critically struck, the cooldown of Chain Harvest is reduced by 5 seconds. Important to note, tying into this is the potency conduit called Lavish Harvest, which does increase the critical strike chance of Chain Harvest by 10% up to 17%, so much more likely to give you cooldown reduction. This one is, yeah, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I believe that Maelstrom weapon should let you instant cast this. So it's kind of like a really hard-hitting Chain Lightning every like 1.5 minutes, or maybe every minute or so with the Conduit if you're super lucky. Something like that. I believe it's very undertuned right now and does almost no damage. So this one's pretty underwhelming. And of course, I mean, the bigger downside for me is that this is not, like, there's so many perks tied into Chain Lightning. Like Chain Lightning's boosting the damage of Crash Lightning, and it's lowering the cooldown of Crash Lightning. So there's wonderful synergies there just in the basic kit, which, I mean, some of those legendaries and stuff kind of tie into that even a little bit as well. Chain Harvest kind of exists independent of that, so I feel like it's not going to be all that exciting. It's just whatever. It's just a big AoE hit, you know, every minute and a half or so, or big AoE heal if you want to use it for that. Kind of okay. I mean, that's the thing. In a single target fight, it's shite damage in single target, so it's just an AoE heal on your group. So not particularly impressed by this one, to be honest. For the Necrolords, their signature ability is Fleshcraft. This has a 2 minute cooldown. It's a 4 second channel that makes you form a shield of flesh and bone that prevents damage equal to 20% of your maximum health. If you channel near corpses, you can claim their essence to make the shield more powerful, go up to 50% of your maximum health. So kind of interesting. Again, with the Earth Elemental Conduit, that makes Earth Elemental give you 40% more maximum health. You could sync these up like somewhat frequently, and you could get an absolutely massive shield, which I think could be kind of interesting to soak some mechanics in raids, or to be very survivable in Mythic Plus. So some use for that. I mean, the shield does persist for 2 minutes, so on a DPS you can have pretty good uptime on this, and that could definitely help with your squishiness and avoiding some one-shot abilities or some dangerous abilities. So I think this is pretty cool, actually. Then the Covenant ability for the Shaman is called Primordial Wave. For enhancement, you blast your target with a Primordial Wave, doing some damage, shadow damage. It applies Flame Shock to an enemy, and it makes your Lightning Bolt hit all targets that have Flame Shock on them. The text here is a bit weird on the Wowhead article. I don't think that's quite right, but the ability has a 45 second cooldown and a 1.5 second cast time. With the Tumbling Waves Conduit, you give Primordial Wave a 20% chance to not incur its own cooldown, and that can go up to a 40% chance to not incur its own cooldown. So this one is quite interesting in the sense that, yeah, again, you're going to cast this with your Maelstrom weapon. It's going to be an instant cast. That's going to do a good chunk of damage, and it's going to apply Flame Shock to an additional target. So that's kind of nice, because obviously you're limited in how many targets you can Flame Shock, and Flame Shock does pretty good damage. And it's also going to turn your Lightning Bolt into like a cleaving ability. I'm not entirely sure, again, if this is going to work all that well with Ellie, in the sense that, I don't know, like, I feel like even if Lightning Bolt is going to cleave multiple targets, like 5 targets, I wonder if just doing Chain Lightning might actually just, you know, do more damage. Or well, it would do slightly less damage, but because it boosts up Crash Lightning and lets me Crash Lightning more often, I don't know if this is actually going to, be worth it. So this is one to return to. Like, maybe it will be good, maybe not. I hope it is good because this is my favorite one for the other two Shaman specs. So I do hope this works out being good for the Enhancement Shaman. Obviously, you know, with more Flame Shocks out, that could tie in perhaps to some of your Lava Lash and Flame Shock talents and builds. So there is some potential interesting synergy there. But yeah, we'll see how this one works out. Then finally, we have the Night Fae. Their signature ability is Soul Shape. You turn into a Vulpin, teleporting 15 yards forward and increasing your movement speed by 50%. This lasts for 12 seconds. You can reactivate it every 4 seconds to get another 15-yard teleport, and it has a 1.5 minute cooldown. So this is obviously a really big burst movement cooldown. This is very, very powerful. So yeah, this one is obviously pretty good. I mean, I feel like you already have some pretty good mobility options with Spirit Walk, giving you a big burst mobility cooldown on a 1 minute cooldown. But I mean, even more mobility is definitely going to be useful in multiple situations. So yeah, definitely some creative uses can be made with that one. The Covenant ability isn't great though for an enhancement at all. This is Fey Transfusion. Transfer the life force of up to 4 enemies in the targeted area. This is a channeled ability, so you channel some AoE damage, nature damage over 3 seconds, and then you can press the button again within 20 seconds to release 25% of the damage, healing up to 8 allies that are near you. The Conduit for this one makes it do 10% increased damage and channel 10% faster. That goes up to 30% more damage, 30% faster. So, I mean, it's going to be just over like a 2-second channel with the Conduit. So this is pretty not good, I would say. The problem is, while you are channeling this ability, you're not doing your melee attacks. And your melee attacks are generating Maelstrom Weapon. And your melee attacks are triggering Wind Fury and triggering Flame Tongue Weapon. Like, your melee attacks are a really important part of Enhancement Shaman. And you cannot melee while you're channeling. So I'm not seeing this one. I'm not seeing this one being all that good. I mean, like, I guess it's maybe there will be some use for it, but I mean, it's basically doing AoE damage and healing. For example, I would much like 50 billion times rather have the Kyrian Vesper Totem than I would have this. The Vesper Totem is instant cast. I throw it down. It's going to do all of its damage. It does really good damage. It's very good for single target. This one is nothing that's good for single target at all. It's just worse than single target. Vesper Totem, the Conduit, makes it good in single target. Vesper Totem, I can use my healing stream to trigger the heal in some downtime, or I can focus on the healing if I want to, but I don't know, like this one, it's just the channel, not good, I don't think. And there you have it, guys. Those are all the different parts of the Enhancement Shaman on the Shadowlands beta. So what do I think? Well, I mean, this is one of the most changed spec. In fact, I might even go so far as to say it is the most changed spec. I mean, Shadow Priestess there with their rework kind of competing here, but I think Enhancement Shaman might pull ahead. And the great news, the really good news that I'm so happy to tell you is that this rework is fantastic. Oh my god. Enhancement Shaman is an awesome class now. It's an awesome spec. It is so damn good. It is so damn good. Oh my god. I've just been blown away. I think they've done a stellar job of game design here. So, changing from like the builder spender thing, which just didn't work very well in PFA. It just didn't feel great. Changing to a spec which is about managing several short cooldowns. It just flows so much better, and just the incredible synergies between these abilities is just so good. It all flows so well. It feels fantastic in single target. It feels fantastic in AoE. I will say it took me a little bit to get used to it. Like the first like half hour or so playing Enhancement Shaman, I was kind of going, man, this is really weird. I don't really get it. It feels strange not to have Rockbiter. Like, where are my filler spells? You know, where's my Sinister Strike? Where's my my Tiger Palm? Where's my filler? There's no filler. There's no filler. It's every single ability matters. Every single ability has a purpose, and every single ability can synergize together. The talent tree on top of this adds even more synergies. It's such an interesting talent tree. You can build around Lava Lash, make Lava Lash more important, and your Flame Shock. You can build around Wind Fury and Storm Strike. You can build around Frost Shock. There's just so many options which look so intriguing. The Conduits look powerful. The Legendaries look powerful. I mean, at this point, my only concern, the only criticism I can point at this spec and how it plays, the only thing is that the spec already flows and feels great in questing gear without legendaries, and without with just the Kyrian Covenant abilities, what I was playing with. It feels really good with that stuff. The only possible worry is that, well, when I get lots and lots of like haste and like raid gear and stuff like that, and when I start stacking up conduits and soulbinds and legendaries on top of it, it's possible that the spec might become too fast, that there might be too much going on. It might be overwhelming. That is my only concern. I mean, we'll have to see. Will that actually happen with testing? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I think that could feel really good as well. Like, that could be its own brand of fun. It really could. On top of that, I think the Enhancement Shaman, unlike the Ellie Shaman, I criticized their lack of utility. I think that the Enhancement Shaman got a couple of little bits of utility that add a lot to the spec that make it flow even better. So Spirit Walk baseline, a baseline little sprint on a 1 minute cooldown, that feels really good for some extra mobility. That shores up a bit of a weakness. In particular, though, the real standout here for me is the Wind Fury Totem. Buff your entire party, your entire raid within 30 yards with a 10% chance to just have a repeat auto attack. Whenever they auto attack, just swing again. Just swing again. This is so good because this is like the one thing. Like, it doesn't matter if the spec, you know, is super fun to play. If there's no reason to bring the spec over other specs, now if there's nothing that makes it stand out, either in terms of its damage profile or in terms of its utility, then the spec can kind of fade into the background, right? It can kind of fade into the background. Wind Fury Totem just by itself could be a reason to just bring Enhancement Shaman all the time to raids, right? And it's a big reason to bring them to Mythic Plus, just boosting up the damage of all of your different specs. Like for warriors in particular, like an Arms Warrior with Wind Fury Totem, that makes Arms Warrior a lot better because their attacks, their melee attacks hit hard, and their melee attacks are what generate rage and what fuel their abilities. So giving them Wind Fury Totem is huge. It's absolutely huge. So, you know, you're going to know that when you sign up for a Mythic Plus group as an Enhancement Shaman in Shadowlands, instead of them going, lol, Enhancement Shaman, decline, they're going to go, there's going to be the Arms Warrior in the group is going to go, yo, hang on a second. Get that Enhancement Shaman in here. I want that guy. I want that guy in my team. And other specs are going to be doing the same. So excited by that. Such a positive thing. It's definitely what Enhancement needed. It's definitely what Enhancement needed to make it stand out from the pack, which is phenomenal. So yes, Enhancement Shaman, guys, this is one of my top picks for Shadowlands. It absolutely is one of my top picks for Shadowlands. Okay, like right now in the beta, the damage actually isn't that great, isn't that good, but that's going to be tuned up. But in terms of the fun, I mean, that makes it even more impressive, doesn't it? That the spec isn't doing all that good in terms of the DPS, in terms of the damage right now, in terms of the tuning, but it still feels amazing. That's just a testament to how much fun this spec is. The spec, it flows so well. It is a blast to play. It's super cool. Interesting choices to be made, you know. You can bring Chain Heal to support your group with some instant cast Chain Heals with Maelstrom Weapon, which is fantastic. Wind Fury Totem to bring more utility to your group. More mobility, just everything about this is good. This is just a top tier spec. So yeah, one that is going to see more play for sure in Shadowlands. It's going to be more popular, much more popular than BFA, and it feels much more fun to play than BFA. So it is a winner. Thumbs up all around. The Enhancement Shaman. It's awesome. It's awesome. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look, and I will see you next time for more. Bye-bye.